Hello people, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your boy Toyin. It's been a little while, but hopefully next year we'll clean it up and be more consistent on the channel. As always, before I get into things, like, share, subscribe to the channel and all of that good stuff, obviously. But yeah, let's get into today's video. So in today's video, what I wanted to talk about is why should you learn something new in tech, right? Like a new programming language, a new framework. Should you learn about AI if you haven't got any knowledge about the cloud, etc.? So why should you do that, and when should you do this? So I'm going to talk a little bit about why it's important, what the right timing is, or what I think the right timing is, and then how you should go about that process. So yeah, if you like the video, obviously like, share and subscribe and all of that stuff, and let's get right into it. So let me give you a little bit of a history on what I've learned in 2024. Since we're coming up to the end of the year, let's talk about it, right? So in 2024, the new things that I've learned, right, in like tech-ish kind of sector, I've learned C# for programming games, just out of interest, basically. I have learned Go Hugo, which is a static site generator, and that was for making static websites for clients. So I did that for money, basically, as a side thing. I've recently picked up Angular as I was joining a new team at work. So it was the tech stack being used, so I obviously had to pick it up. So I've learned Angular, and now at the moment I am learning Flutter, right? I had an idea for creating a mobile app, and I needed something to create that, essentially. So I was picking between React Native and Flutter. I chose to go with Flutter for reasons. Right, so that's a little bit of a history of what I've learned in like 2024. And in between that, I've also picked up a couple of certifications and different things, mostly related with work. Picked up a security certification because of work stuff, and then picked up a certification in Azure as well, again, to prove my credentials in using Azure as a cloud technology. So what you'll notice is that with all the new things that I've picked up, there's always a reason, right? Sometimes it's very simple as just like, I want to, but generally there's like a reason as to why I'm picking up something. And I think generally that is the main thing. Now, before I get into that, let me preface this. If you are a new software engineer, new developer, and you're deciding, okay, what programming language, for example, should I learn? Should I learn multiple programming languages at once? The answer is no. Pick one, stick to one for a good while, right? A year, year and a half. Just pick one language, a very simple one. Personally, I recommend like an object-oriented language or Python. So either pick like Java or C# or pick Python, basically, right? There's no need to complicate things by picking up multiple languages, etc. at the same time. There's just no reason. Generally, the concepts that you learn are more important than the actual language. So let me just preface that. But if you are, let's say you're an engineer, you've been programming for a little while, and you're thinking, okay, should I update my skills? Should I learn something new on top of stuff? Of course. And let's talk about the why. The reason you, as a developer, as an engineer, even if you're DevOps, tester, etc., if it's just generally in tech, the reason you need to learn new stuff is because tech generally moves quite quickly, and there's always new stuff coming out, and if you don't keep up to a certain extent, you will be left behind. So that's the reason. It is not as, I don't think it's as kind of emergent as some people will make you think, and it's not as kind of as big as a catastrophe as people make you think, right? So sometimes it sounds like if you don't learn a new language or new framework every 6 months, you're going to be left behind. It's not like that. It's not that deep, right? But you should be learning things continuously. So that's reason number one why you should learn new things, to not be left behind. So reason number two, generally as to why you should learn new things as well, what I found actually very recently, it displays your passion. So I'm a senior engineer. I've done a couple of interviews for senior engineer roles and recently for a lead position. And they've tended to ask me, actually, tell us about what you've learned in the last year, 6 months, etc. And the reason this question is asked is because of what I just mentioned earlier, basically. They know, or people generally, people in tech, developers, senior management, they know that tech moves fast. Tech moves fast. So they want someone that actually has a genuine passion for tech. So learning new things in your own time, learning a new language, a new framework, something about the cloud, something about AI, building a project. All of these things, they display passion, right? And it's such a good thing to talk about in an interview. Talk about a personal project you've done, why you've decided to do it, and the answer should be because I wanted to, or I love this shit, right? Obviously. And it's such a good thing to talk about, and it basically just shows your passion. So that's another reason as to why you should be learning new things. And then reason number 3 is, I kind of mentioned it earlier, it's just general interest, right? If you have an interest to just make games, you need to learn a language or a framework that you can use to make games, or a mobile app, you need to learn something, right? It's just as simple as that. So, okay, I've given you a history of what I've learned. We've talked about why you should be learning stuff. Now, as I mentioned, the when is kind of linked to the why, right? Learn new things when you have an interest, when there is a need for work. So, as I mentioned, I joined a new team, so I had to learn a new framework. Simple as that. And also to show, as in when you've got something coming up, when you're looking to maybe move roles, when you're seeing that a lot of roles are looking for a specific thing, then you might want to pick up that specific thing. If you're applying for full stack engineer roles and you're seeing, okay, they love Angular or React, pick one and start learning it. Simple as that. Now let's move into how do you do this. How you pick up new technologies, I think, is very individual. I'm trying shit. It's not very individual. It is 99% of the time very standard way that you should pick up new technologies. Obviously, it kind of depends on how much experience in coding you have generally, right? If you've been coding for 5 years, then you pick it up slightly differently to if you're completely new. But the general standard way of picking something up is quite standard, basically. So the best way to learn coding is to do it. Firstly, before doing it, and I found this recently actually, I got a bit cocky, tried to pick up Flutter, tried to just do it, and it don't work, bro. It don't work. Firstly, you need to learn some of the theory. And when I say theory, what I mean is, what does a Flutter project, for example, what does it look like? Like, what's a component, what's a widget, how are the files laid out, what's the directory structure, those sort of things. Because if you just create a new Java project, a new Flutter project, a new Angular project with no context of what things look like or what they're supposed to look like, it's a mess, right? So first, learn a little bit of theory. Watch a couple of YouTube videos on this is how a Flutter project is set up, how an Angular project is set up. You can see the components or the widgets. You can see this is the directory structure. This is what the file goes. This is generally how people set up files. Once you have that context, then it makes a lot more sense. Now, let's say you have the theory. You kind of know what an Angular project looks like, what components are laid out, how they're laid out, and what the different decorators are in Angular, right? So you have the theory. Then code, do it yourself. By far, 100%, doesn't matter who it is, what they say, blah, blah, blah. Best way to learn coding is to code yourself. So follow a tutorial and at the same time code. Don't just follow the tutorial and watch it. It don't make sense. So code along whilst you're following a tutorial. And then follow a couple tutorials. Now, I will say that I have recently found that YouTube, whilst it's a great resource, there's a lot of dross on there, man. There's a lot of rubbish, bro. Like, some of the projects just not good. And there's so many projects that it makes it kind of get decision fatigue, being like, oh, which one should I pick? My advice is just pick something. Like, I don't have good advice on how to pick it, but you just need to pick something. And even better is if you, rather than using YouTube, I recommend using like Pluralsight or Cloud Guru if he's doing something cloud related. Something where it gives you like a structured course on how to learn this particular language or framework, right? It takes away all of that. I have to decide which YouTube tutorial to pick and then which next one to pick, etc. If you can use like a Pluralsight or a Udemy to follow a course, even simpler, and it makes it out for you. Very simple. I rambled on a little bit. Hopefully you didn't get too lost, and hopefully that was a little bit of value. But that's what I think essentially when it comes to learning something new in technology. Have a why, and then choose the right time. The why is kind of related to the right time as well. You're going to pick up something new, a new language, a new framework, etc. when there's a reason to. But also you need to balance that with a general move in tech. You can't just wait. Like, if you're working on the same team and the same project at work for 2 years, you're always going to use the same tech stack. You might think there's no reason to ever pick up something new. That's not true. You should still balance that with, okay, every 6 months or so, you should start looking at something, picking up something for the year, for those 6 months, something new, so that you keep your skills fresh. You have certifications in the back pocket. You have passion projects in the back pocket, so that if you're looking for a new role, for example, you can bang them in there as well. Yeah, man. All right, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. If you stayed to the end, you're a real one. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.